Hi everyone, this is Dr. Saranya and I'm going to give a small presentation under computer networks. So let's get started. The topic that we are going to discuss today is about computer networks and TCP/IP. So I hope you all know what is data communication. So the data communication, or it is also known as telecommunication, which is to communicate at a distance. So here the word data refers to the information presented in whatever form is agreed upon by the practices and the parties whoever is in need of creating the data and using the. So the data communications are the exchange of data between two devices, some in some form of transmission medium. I hope you can understand with the image given here, a sender and a receiver. A sender will have a set of protocols and the message will be passed through a medium and it receives the receiver's end with a set of protocols that is to be followed. So the components of data communication are the five major components. First one is message. So message is the information that is to be communicated, and the message may consist of text, numbers, pictures, etc. Whereas the sender is a device that sends the message. Medium is the physical path where the sender and the receiver gets connected and it acts as a transmission medium, and that medium can be of any form. It might be a wireless or a wired, whereas the receiver is the device that receives the messages that the sender is sending on, and it may be some of the output devices too. Whereas the protocol is the set of policies that should be administered while communication is done between a sender and a receiver. So these are the five major components that is needed for a data communication in computer networks. So the direction of data flow. So when the data is being transferred from the sender to the receiver, that is a transmitter to the receiver, the data can be of any form. So first one we are just going to discuss here is about simplex method. So simplex is the data movement will happen only in one direction. So that is what is being mentioned here. So the data will be pointed out in only one direction, and the data transmissions happening in this way are some examples here. So radio transmission, that is television, whoever is broadcasting the data. So one sender is sending and the receiver is receiving. That is what about direction of data flow in simplex manner. Whereas in the half duplex manner, in half duplex the data flows in both the directions but only one direction at a time on the data communication line. So it can be sent from the sender to the receiver or from the receiver to the sender. So both the way the communication can happen, but the thing is only one can perform their task at once. So for example, it is like walkie-talkies. One completes the entire data transmission, then only the next end can able to communicate for data communication. Whereas the full duplex is that full duplex data flow in both the directions simultaneously. It's like talking in a telephone. So you can also talk and the receiver also can talk simultaneously so that you can understand what the communication is happening. So these are the directions how the data can be flown. So simplex, half duplex and full duplex. So some of the network components that are available which is used for data communication, that is hubs, switches, bridges, routers, gateways, firewalls, CSUs, TSUs, wireless access points, modems, network interface cards, ISDN adapters and transceivers. So these are the major components that is used for data transmission. So now we are just moving into a small introduction about how those components can be used. So there are many ways of transmitting the data. So here the connections are in different forms also. During the data communication, you can have the connections like a local area network or in the form of a wide area network. So computers within a LAN are often connected using a hub. Okay, as I shown you a list of components in the previous slide, here it is being mentioned that a hub is nothing but within a wireless LAN, a connection has to happen means they use a component called hub. Okay, and LAN to LAN, so two networks you are just connecting, it is done with the help of a bridge. Whereas segments of LAN that has to be connected together means it is being done with a component called switch, and LAN to WAN. From local area to a wide area, the connections are usually performed with a router. So I hope these are some of the components that can be used for making connections between the network. So the network components, that is hub, take. So hub is nothing but a hardware device that interconnects two or more workstations into a local area network. Okay. And when the workstation transmits to the hub immediately resends the data frame to all the connecting links. So if one component is sending, one person is sending a message and it has to be transmitted or reflected to everyone in that particular network, this hub will be doing that. Active hub avoids reduced collisions. Okay, so active, there are two different forms of hubs, that is active hub and passive hub. If you take an active hub, it avoids and reduces collision. Whereas passive hub, if you take, it just does nothing. Okay, it just don't do or don't disturb the network transmission at all. Whereas bridge, if you take, the purpose of it is a the main purpose of the bridge is to filter traffic on a local area network. So to keep the traffic in a constant manner. Okay, if over traffic it comes over there, the data will be overflown and there will be lot of missing of data. So the bridge connects network and forwards frames from one network to the another. Until the frame is addressed to a MAC address on the local side of the bridge, it is not forwarded to the other segment. So when you are making connections between two different LANs and you have to go for addressing the MAC address, so that only it can able to get connected. So when you take about the switch here, switch is another one component. So switch must be able to read the MAC address of each frame it receives. Okay, whichever the frame it is receiving, it has to read whether it is being connected properly with the bridge with a MAC address. Okay, so this information allows switches to repeat incoming data frames only to the computer or computers to which a frame is addressed. Okay. So the next component is about routers. So routers are networking devices which is used to extend or segment networks by forwarding or routing packets from one logical network to the another. Yeah. So this device it mainly connects LAN to WAN and WAN to WAN connections. So a router can help two networks to get connected, and also it acts as an interface for connecting multiple LANs together too. So a router accepts an that is outgoing packet and removes any LAN headers or trailers and encapsulates the necessary WAN headers and trailers. So unavoided data, then that is not needed data can be rejected during this data transmission. So here is a small comparison between the bridges versus routers. A bridge is a device that connects two segments for same network. So a bridge can connect a LAN to LAN connection or WAN to WAN connection. It cannot go for connecting a LAN to WAN or a WAN to LAN. Okay. Whereas a router can able to connect two distant networks. So that is the major difference between the bridges and the routers here. And the bridges will have a set of protocols which are independent, and they are mainly used for forwarding of the packets without analyzing and rerouting the messages. Whereas here in routers are similar to that of bridges only, but they have some additional functionality like filtering up. So some unwanted data can be filtered up based on how the data has to be transmitted. So the next set of components is repeaters. A repeater is a device that amplifies a signal as it passes through it to counteract the effects of alternation. So a repeater will be making the network when its signal strength is becoming low. It just again boosts up and send the actual set of same bandwidth to the next. So repeaters are kept in between when they want to transmit the data for wider set of distance, okay, for long distance coverages. So then a gateway, it is nothing but the next component is about gateway. A gateway is a device which is used to connect networks using different protocols. Whereas firewall, it is a device or a hardware, or it can be of a software which will be preventing some unwanted set of communications that is happening data communication. So the network devices with its layers are here. So I hope you know the different layers in a TCP IP. So in that, the first layer, which is we call it as physical layer, which holds hubs and repeaters. Whereas the second layer is the data link layer, which will be holding up switches, bridges, NICs and repeaters. Whereas the third layer, network layer, which will be holding up routers, switches, gateways and repeaters. So this is how the components that was listed at the beginning, it just goes on with the different layers based on the functionalities and the responsibilities each component should hold on during the data transmission. So the network categories can be of different forms. First one is local area network. Second is wide area network. Third is metropolitan area network. And the fourth is wireless local area network. And the fifth one is storage area network, CAN, which is called as campus area network or a cluster area network, or it can be a controller area network. PAN is nothing but a personal area network. TAN is desk area network. So the network categories, first we are just going to look about the local area network here. So a network is a single office building or in a campus. You want to connect the computers of an office or in a single building or in a single campus. You can able to do that by using this local area network. So the minimum distance here is about 100 meters. So the maximum speed it will be 10 to 100 Mbps, and Ethernet LANs can happen up to 1000 Mbps also. Whereas wide area network, it is mainly used for making connections between long distance communication over country or a continent or in a whole world. So the maximum distance will be 10 to 100 kilometers, and its speed also will be much faster when compared to that of land, that is 150 to 1000 Mbps. Whereas metropolitan area networks, it is extended over an entire city. So minimum of 5 to 50 kilometers, and the data transfer rate will be low as compared to that of the land. So it will be a very slow, but you can able to get connected within a particular city. So this is how the communication is happening in EB offices in our country like that. So whereas wireless LAN, the high frequency radio waves for communication it is using, and also it provides short range connectivity with high speed data transmission. Whereas PAN, if you take, the network is organized by a single individual user for its personal use alone. Only you are going to use like that. That is at home you are getting some broadband connections. That will be coming under the category of PAN. Whereas SAN connects servers to data storage of different devices via fiber optic communication also will happen. So this is how it is used for taking up daily backups of your data in your organization. Okay. So here comes the end of the topic about the TCP IP protocol, and we have discussed about some certain components that is needed for making connections between the networks while data communication is happening. Thank you for watching this video.